What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Wheel Life. My name is John, and today we are going to talk about 10 assumptions that I wish people would stop making about people in wheelchairs. And these assumptions are really specific to my life. They might apply to other people in wheelchairs, and they might not. But that's what we're going to talk about today. Ready, let's go! Alright guys, so assumption number one that I wish people would stop making is that people in wheelchairs are incapable of living happy and full lives. So many people look at us and they assume that because we cannot walk or we can't do this or that we are miserable and that we're sad and this and that. And that's really just not the case. Yes, our lives are obviously way harder than the average person, but that does not mean that we're miserable. You know, we're capable of living happy and full lives. All right, that's assumption number one. That's got to go in the trash. All right, guys, assumption number two that's got to go in the trash is that people in wheelchairs cannot have families or children, right? There are many people I know who are married and live happy lives and end up having children. They might not be the same way that an able-bodied person goes about having children, but it is very possible for someone in my situation as a quadriplegic to have children, to have relationships, to have marriage, and all that good stuff that is part of anyone else's life. So that's assumption number two that I wish people would stop making. Assumption number three that I wish people would stop assuming about people with physical disabilities is that every time they see us, they see that we're physically disabled, they usually assume that we're also mentally impaired as well. And yes, there are times where people that are disabled are both mentally and physically handicapped. That's not always true, and that's an assumption that I wish would be stopped, right? You know, I have so many people who talk to me, and they just, you can tell when they talk to you that they don't think you're all there upstairs. And that's really demeaning and frustrating. And it's not true. I'm so grateful and thankful to God that I have my full capacity upstairs and that I'm not mentally disabled. So that's assumption number three. That's gotta go. Okay, so the fourth assumption I want to talk about is kind of how people have treated me over the years. And it's one thing that really gets to me and bothers me a lot. It is when people assume what I am capable of and what I am capable of handling. This is something that I faced in ministry, in life, in family stuff. You know, people always assume what I am capable of handling. And they just got to realize that we are capable of doing, you know the song, whatever you can do, I can do better? I don't mean I can do everything better than a normal person. What is normal anyways? But we're capable of doing so much more than you give us credit for. So if you don't think we can do something, please ask first. You know, just have that decency to say, do you think you can do this? And 9 times out of 10, if we're not capable of doing something, we will tell you that we're not capable of doing something. So stop assuming what we're capable of doing. That's my other assumption. That's got to go. All right, so this is an assumption that I want to talk about that is in the media a lot. I think many people have seen Family Guy, right? You've seen Joe from Family Guy, the character in there. And man, they paint us in a horrible, horrible light. Not all of us are incontinent and have to have diapers on and we're constantly going to the bathroom in our pants and all that stuff. That's just not the case, right? And that's how we are portrayed a lot of times in the media. In Family Guy, you look at Joe from Family Guy, and I want to scream when I see that. You know, it can be funny here and there, but I'm not a fan of it, right? Because they paint us in a horrible light. So don't assume that we're all like that character, that we all are rolling around in diapers. Maybe there are some people who need those kinds of things, but that's not every single person in a wheelchair like they portray in the media a lot, right? In the media, we're either heroes or we're zeros, right? And that's a really frustrating thing. We're just normal people trying to live our normal lives. Yes, we're sitting down, but, you know, don't assume things. Ready? All right, so another assumption that I wish people would stop making about wheelchair users is that we are incapable of being fully independent, right? Independence is a big word, and it is something that many of us work so hard to achieve. And we are fully capable of being independent. You want to have your mind blown, YouTube independent quadriplegic. And you'll see people in my situation doing things that completely blow your mind. And it's really frustrating when people assume that we cannot be independent. And there are people, in my situation, who might need help doing things, who might need what's called a PCA, a personal care attendant. But that doesn't mean they're not independent. Yes, they have someone helping them, but they are directing how they need help. And it still achieves independence, but it is in a modified and different way. So yes, we can be independent, and independent means many different things to many different people. So before you assume that we can't do something, like if we can't push our chair, if we need help, just ask first. And it's much better to ask than to assume, all right? That's the other thing that's got to go. A lot of times, people in wheelchairs are treated a lot differently than an able-bodied person. Many times people assume that we are emotionally fragile. And that's an assumption that's gotta go. That's our catchphrase for this whole video. There's a lot of these assumptions, they gotta go. You don't have to treat us with kid gloves. I love when I'm out and about and I'm with my family and I'm talking to someone and I'll crack a joke about my disability and I can just see the uncomfortableness in people around me. And, you don't have to just treat us like humans. Just laugh with us, joke with us, understand that what we go through is hard and it's challenging, but we're not like little China dolls. I might be fragile physically and I might, get bruised, but it doesn't mean that I'm fragile emotionally. So many of us go through this injury and people just treat us so differently that our skin has gotten so thick over the years, and we just want to be treated normal, If you would joke with your buddy who's a 30-year-old man that's able-bodied, you can joke with me about the same things. My favorite people in the world are kids. Because let me tell you something, kids don't care. I've been in youth ministry for a very long time, and I wish that adults treated people with disabilities the same way kids do. They'll come right up to you and they'll ask you straight up, what happened to you? Why are you in a wheelchair? Why don't your hands work? And they'll just ask, and that's how everyone should be. They don't assume anything different. They just treat us like they would treat anybody else. And that's all we're after. So don't treat us like we're super fragile. All right, that's another pet peeve of mine. So another very common misconception, another common assumption that people make, and I've had happen in my life, and people have assumed this about me, is that we're just like sitting down in a chair, and that's all that goes along with being a quadriplegic in a wheelchair. And man, that could not be farther from the truth. You don't know how bad I wish that was the truth, that I was just sitting down like any other able-bodied person sitting in a chair was sitting down. But there is so many complications that come along with an injury like this that I can make a whole series of videos on. And maybe I will. If you want to see that, we'll leave it in the comments. But there is pain, there is emotional stuff with anxiety, there's infections, you name it, it happens. And it ain't always easy. So if you have someone in your life who's in a wheelchair, just understand that they go through a lot, and that's not a reason to pity them. And it's not a reason to treat them differently, but just kind of understand that there's a lot in their lives that they go through. And there's, you got to keep that in mind, all right? That it's not just sitting down in a chair. There's a lot more to this, all right? Okay, so one common assumption that I really do not like, and that just drives me straight up a wall, is when people assume that my number one wish is to walk again. Would it be awesome if I could walk again? Yes. Would it be my number one wish? No. That's pretty low on the totem pole. I probably would wish that I had no pain, or that I had hand function, or that I would just, be able to accomplish all that God has set my heart on fire for. But my last thing that I really focus on is walking again. There's usually two camps in the disability world after you get injured. There's the people who really focus on walking again, and there's the people on the other side who focus on bettering their lives with the cards they've been dealt and moving forward and this and that. And both sides are okay, but I'm on more of the camp of pushing forward to live your life to the best of your ability with the cards that you've been dealt right now. I feel that when you focus too much on walking again and this and that, you miss all the here and now. God put you on this planet for a reason, and things happen for a reason that's my belief. So yeah, don't assume everyone wishes they could walk again, because a lot of times that's farther from the truth. I'm so grateful for where I am in my life right now, and I wouldn't want to change it for the world. So don't assume that. Let's go. All right, so this last assumption that I'm going to talk about is really directed at the church folk. If you don't know, I've been in ministry for a very long time. I'm a church planter, a preacher, a youth leader, and a lot of my time is spent in a church. And there's a lot of times when I go to a church or this or that, people assume that I want to be healed, right? And I've had people that have come up to me. This happened not long ago. This guy came up to me and started laying hands on me and started praying over me and saying, if you have faith, get up out of your chair, or this or that. And that sends a really bad message sometimes to people with disabilities. Like, God allowed this to happen for a reason. That's my full belief. I believe that if he wanted to, right now, in this very second, he could get me right up out of this chair. I believe that wholeheartedly. But that hasn't happened. And God put me here for a purpose. And I want to use my life and my injury to show that God is bigger than anything that we go through. And, when you tell someone that all you need is faith, you need faith and you can get out of that chair. And it paints the picture that if you don't get out of your chair, you don't have enough faith. And that can be really hurtful and damaging to the person. You can be doing with the best of intentions, right? But, God is sovereign over all, and I take that seriously, and this happened for a reason, and not all of us want to be healed. I know someday I will be healed. It probably won't be on this earth, but when I cross those pearly white gates into heaven, I'll be up and out of this chair. Amen. So that's an assumption I wish the church would stop making. Not everywhere does it, I'm not saying that, but there's a little group of people who usually do, and it can be really disheartening. So yeah, stop making that assumption. All right, guys, so those were the 10 assumptions that have affected me most in my life over these 14 years of being a wheelchair user, right? And maybe you're a wheelchair user watching this and you've never had any of these experiences. I'm sure you've had some of them, but I'm not trying to speak for every wheelchair user on the face of the earth. I'm just trying to share my experiences. So if you're in a wheelchair and you've had this happen, tell me in the comments how you react to these kinds of things. If you've never had this happen, share that too. If you're able-bodied and you're watching this, tell me if you learned a thing or two. Leave it in the comments below. Anyways, those are the things that I've been through in my life, and I hope by making these videos, by doing this channel, I'm hoping to raise some awareness and smash down some different stereotypes that are out there about us handy-capable people. So yeah, hope everyone has a great week. Hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. Like, share, subscribe to my channel. It helps out a lot. So have a great week. I'll see you in the next video. Let's go.